How's it going, guys? I hope you guys have been well. Life's been pretty busy, but I want to take this chance to tackle some of my Swordmaster story backlog for you all. In this video, I'll be briefly going over my strategy for Dark Lord Tower floors 113 to 118 just so this video isn't too long. If you find it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you like the video afterwards. Keep in mind, depending on when you watch this video, I may not have some of the newer characters as this footage is old, so there is that disclaimer. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first floor we're looking at here is floor 113. We find ourselves against the scary Spider Queen with Dark Panic Trigger, Wizard's Weakness, and Warrior Weakness. Because this boss does reduced damage to mages and takes 4 times damage from dark type enemies, I would recommend this all mage team Lagrange, Ymir, Zeus, and Lucifer. You need this composition in order to not only survive, but deal enough damage within the allotted time. First, you need everyone to be able to survive, which requires having sufficient crit resistance. I forgot what the exact number was for this floor, but I'd recommend aiming for 200% or more, which is why Zeus is here to provide the team additional crit resistance. Also keep in mind, I have a separate set of gear with all crit resist lines saved just for Dark Lord's Tower and Guild territory, so that is how I have sufficient crit resist in addition to things like collection bonuses and growth stones. Your main DPS is going to be Lucifer, who does bonus damage towards fire enemies, followed by Ymir. Make sure these two have sufficient crit resist to survive and as much penetration as possible to deal enough damage. My Ymir and Lucifer have 162 and 167% penetration respectively. If you're having trouble dealing enough damage, you can try and maximize damage from your Lagrange and also giving your Zeus more crit rate in order to actually crit. To save yourself some time, make sure you turn off Kain, Slash, and Electric as they can eat up time. Only use them if you need them in order to survive, and use Kain's ultimate to stall for time whenever it's up or whenever you're about to die and need Lagrange to heal. Next up is floor 114, where we're up against Vivian with Archer Panic Trigger, Reaper, and Penetration Resistance. I hope this isn't rocket science, but you should definitely use an all Archer team with a focus on penetration. I used Eras, Gaia, Mary, and Chiron as they all do a lot of damage against this boss. For me, I was able to leave everyone except Kain on auto. Again, remember to max out everyone's penetration if you can. Very easy and straightforward boss. I would also expect your team to have 200% or more crit resistance, similar to the previous floor. An all Archer team should help with this. Next we have floor 115, which is Ares, who has Archer, Warrior, and Wizard Panic Trigger. This means he takes 4 times the damage from those classes. Because he hits relatively fast and hard, we need sufficient crit resistance and healing. The first thing that comes to mind is an all Archer team, since this team helps with the crit resistance, and Eros has the best team-wide healing and an all Archer team. The lowest crit resistance on my team here was Eros with 238%. Expect this requirement to get higher with every higher floor. After Ares, we have Lagrange on floor 116 with Wizard Panic Trigger, Wizard Weakness, and Warrior Slayer. Because she has Warrior Slayer, we know Kain will die, and any team with a warrior is doomed to fail. This means our only choice is a mage team to deal sufficient damage in time. For this floor, I chose to use Megumin, Ymir, Lagrange, and Zeus. Similar to floor 113, we need Zeus here to provide team-wide crit resistance, and Ymir and Lagrange are meant to keep the team alive. Megumin is the main damage dealer here, but you could use a new mage like Thetis if you don't have Megumin. In this scenario, I think only my Zeus was getting hit, so your backline can afford more DPS and not have to worry about having enough crit resistance. Just making sure your Zeus has enough and is tanky enough. In this video, my Zeus had 237 crit resistance, and that's with 3 armor pieces all having 3 lines of crit resist. For floor 117, we're facing Ymir with Light and Dark Panic Trigger, and Light and Dark Weakness. This leads me to creating a team with Dark Lord and Ymir since they both deal a lot of damage with the Dark Panic Trigger and help keep the team alive with their shields. Same team as previous floors but with a different secondary DPS. This time being Dark Lord since she does bonus damage to dark type enemies. Same strategy as before, make sure everyone has as much crit resistance as possible with as much penetration as possible. And lastly, we have floor 118, which is a relatively easy floor. Here we have Ariel with Leaf and Panic Trigger in addition to Archer Weakness. This calls for an all-archer team with Kayron, Mary, and Gaia to take advantage of the boss's weaknesses. I just left my entire team on auto, and if your character's HP gets too low, you can use a Kain active skill to stall, while Aerith's healing procs. In summary, here are some of the challenges with the higher floors of Dark Lord's Tower. They require a lot of crit resistance, damage reduction, penetration, and everything else just to deal enough damage. To get enough crit resistance, which is something like 200% or more for the earlier floors, and this increases as you get higher, you'll need to keep aside gear with 3 lines of crit resistance on everything. This will make your team less tanky due to those lines being crit resistance instead of HP or defense, so that's why the damage reduction is essential in your gear set bonuses. Penetration is a stat that is also hard to come by. To get more penetration, you'll need to utilize gear sets that have penetration and weapons that give penetration. Now, if you have everything I just mentioned taken care of, and you still can't kill the boss in time, you may simply be too weak. If you just need a hair more damage, you can try checking your team to make sure everyone is doing critical damage. If not, they'll need more crit rate. I hope this information was helpful. Dark Lord's Tower can definitely be brutal in the late game with the limited time, so just be patient. If you can't do enough damage, try again later after you've upgraded a good amount. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.